Hello and welcome back. Survivor is finally back on our TV screens and I'm so excited for the premiere and to talk about it. Let's just jump right into it. Let's start off where this episode starts off, and that is
it's been a while.
Jeff talking directly to his TV, which I'm not saying I didn't like this, but it did kind of remind me of...
Hi. You got a second?
Now, Jeff lets us know right off the bat that not only will there be new contestants, but the game itself will be changing quite a bit. Instead of 39 days, this game will be played in 26 days. They will not give rice to the tribes to start out. They have to earn everything. If you lose a challenge, you will be punished, and there are plenty of new twists, like this one called the Beware Advantage that he teases us with right in the beginning of this episode. Also, every advantage comes at a cost, kind of like a monkey paw situation. Essentially, Jeff's saying that this season of Survivor is on hard mode. Now, as I go through this review and recap, I will be getting into some of my own thoughts and opinions on like the challenges and twists, but for now, let's go on to where Jeff and the tribes meet each other on the ship. It's there that Jeff takes the opportunity to talk to everyone, ask a few questions. One that stood out is asking the cast whether the phrase "come on in guys" is good or should he retire the guys portion. Evie was the first to speak and said she was cool with it, and everyone agreed. So we move on to tribe names, which the blue is called Luvu, yellow is called Yesa, and green is called Yua. And they jump right into it with the first challenge of the season, which on the boat, you have to find all 6 color coordinated paddles for your tribe. Get all your members on the boat, circle a buoy, and come back to retrieve Flint. The first tribe to complete this will win supplies, while the other 2 tribes would have to earn their supplies a different way. This was a pretty interesting challenge, and Lulu seemed to get off to an early start, but Ua was able to come back strong, while Yesa really struggled to find their last ore. Now, from this angle, you can tell that Luvu never unclipped the back. It's rather outstanding no one thought to check around the boat, unless they all thought that the current was super strong. Ua wins Flint and their supplies, while Luvu and Yesa go to their beaches with nothing. But when they get to their beach, they are asked to choose between 2 tasks, Savvy or Sweat. For the Savvy portion, all tribe members can participate. You'll have to count all the triangles in a picture, and you can only guess once. If you don't get it right, you get nothing. For the Sweat task, 2 tribe members have to fill 2 giant barrels with seawater in a 4-hour time period. If the 2 don't finish, then you don't get supplies. Personally, I would be advocating to do the Savvy portion. I like those kind of puzzles and riddles, and also, not having any food, any rice, waiting for me back at camp. I don't want to exert so much energy getting water back and forth to these barrels for 4 hours just to get back to camp and just eat coconuts. At Yesa, David wants to do Savvy. He thinks anyone would be an idiot to pick Sweat and volunteer to be one of the 2 to be separated from the tribe to do manual labor for like 4 hours.
Like, we could definitely do the water. Like, I'd be willing to work with you.
Thank you very much, Miss Lippy!
So Xander and David are off to do the Sweat Challenge, while on Luvu, Danny and Deshawn also get started on the Sweat Challenge. During the challenge, they take a break to make an alliance with each other and look for an idol, knowing they had plenty of time, and Nasir comes to check up on them, which he instantly runs back to the tribe to tell everyone that Danny and Deshawn were looking for idols. In the end, Danny and Deshawn didn't find an idol, but they got the challenge done, getting supplies for their tribes, and once they were back, Sydney was first up to let Deshawn know Nasir told the tribe that they were looking for idols.
It's on.
David and Xander also finished the challenge for Yesa, but during their time doing the challenge, Evie and Liana had really bonded in their short time that they spent together, and to me, I think that this duo will be looking out for each other for a long time in the game. Now, while the other tribes were doing this challenge, Yua gets a head start on building camp together thanks to them winning in the first challenge, and we spent a lot of time getting to know JD in this first episode. He even makes the first fire of the season, which I'm sure for a big Survivor fan such as himself, it's a big honor. Now, I was liking JD in this first episode, but he wasn't making a ton of friends, especially in Ricard. Now, my number 1 favorite from this premiere episode has to be Chantel. She was working the social aspect without being too out in the open. She made deals with pretty much everyone, and she even has her own theme song. She for sure got a great edit, especially heading further into, say, tribal, but we'll get there. I know it's only been 1 episode, but I'll call it here. I'm a stan of Chantel. Dare I say, I am a Stantel.
Oh, brother.
On day 2, a man in a boat comes in with a letter saying for one person to get in the boat to take a journey and they'd be back at camp later. Danny volunteers for Luvu, Yesa sends Xander, and JD pulls the rock for Ua. All three men get to another location that has a sign that tells them that they need to hike up a mountain and get to know each other. They do just that as they make their way up to the top to find another sign. They have to go separate paths where at the end of each path, they would have to make a decision individually. When they get to the end of the road, they have a ship wheel where they can either risk their vote or protect their vote. If you risk your vote, you can either get an extra vote or lose your vote depending on what the other two men choose. If you protect your vote, then you get to keep your vote and risk nothing. If all three men choose to risk their vote, they all lose their vote. If all three men protect their vote, nothing changes. If at least one man chooses to protect their vote and the other one or two men choose to risk their vote, those who risk their vote would receive an extra vote. I think this is what people would call a prisoner's dilemma?
Prisoner's dilemma. Kind of a prisoner's dilemma.
We see Danny protect his vote, and Xander chose to risk his vote. JD's choice was left as a bit of a cliffhanger. All three return to camp. Both Danny and Xander have no problem telling their respective tribes the truth, and everyone believes them. JD, on the other hand, is a bit awkward recounting the story of what happened.
You know, we're cruising and I'm like, and my hair's like flowing through the wind. Yeah, but that's not the end of it.
Now, JD is very confident in his storytelling abilities and he thinks he knocks it out of the park. Everyone is believing everything he's saying.
I think they ate it up. I don't believe he just said.
We meet up with Jeff at the first immunity challenge where Ricard speaks up and says that he's thought about the come on in guys and wants Jeff to change it up. Jeff said he was thinking the same thing. So from now on, come on in guys will now just be come on in. And you can tweet Jeff if you don't like it, or you could tweet me because I could use friends.
It's so sad.
Before we get to the first immunity challenge, Jeff hands out special dice. Every player gets one and it's called a shot in the dark. At a tribal council, instead of voting, you can trade in your die to have a 1 in 6 shot at safety. Now I think this twist can be interesting, especially since everyone gets one right off the bat, so you never know when it could be used, and I think that this could be very, very exciting for the game. Now this first immunity challenge is your good old-fashioned survivor, exert a lot of energy, get up to a puzzle, and finish it first. Now, the twist for this challenge is that there will only be one winner. 2 tribes will be going to tribal council while also losing their flint. I myself am not a fan of punishments for losing an immunity challenge. I feel the show was so worried about the criticism of going from 39 days to 26 days that they maybe went too far with the punishments and no rice. I mean, it's only episode 1 and I'm keeping my mind open, but that's just how I feel. This was really exciting to watch. Yesa had an early lead but quickly lost it to Ua, who seemed to be in control for the most part, but even with Luvu's setback on not getting all their sandbags on the platform and having to go back to the beginning, in Survivor, puzzles are the great equalizers, especially when you're missing a piece. Sarah finds the missing piece, but it's too late. Luvu came roaring back to win. Ua and Yesa have to give up their flint, but they did win a date with Jeff to tribal council though. Now to make things easier to follow, I'm gonna be talking about one tribe's camp chat and tribal council at once and then move on to the next. Yesa was very straightforward. Talks really came down to choosing between either voting out Abraham or Tiffany. David and Abraham seemed really cool with voting Tiffany while Evie wasn't having a part in this plan. She likes Tiffany and feels she can trust her going forward. Also, if it's all about voting out weak members, she feels it could snowball into voting off all the women, and who's to say Evie's name wouldn't be brought up next time if they were to find themselves at tribal council. Evie tells Tiffany her name is being floated around, but not to worry. Tiffany isn't worried much, but she's still going out to try to find an idol. And at one point, she was dangerously close to discovering the beware advantage Jeff hit at the beginning of this episode.
Oh, you almost had it.
But alas, she was so close, but so far away. Now the Yesa Tribal Council was a down-home classic. Just questions, answers, and votes. When Jeff reads the votes, it's revealed Abraham was the first to leave the game, and let's just say he didn't see that coming.
See that coming.
Ua was a bit different and a lot more interesting both at camp and at tribal council. Ricard and Sarah want to go for JD. Both Chantel and Sarah feel like they could be in the line of fire because they were both on the puzzle. And Brad makes it known that maybe they should be targeted. To their faces.
Sarah's on the table, Shan's on the table.
What?
Did I stutter?
They tell Brad they want to vote JD out, which Brad goes directly to JD and tells him exactly what they said.
Bro, they are chucking you under the bus.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Yes, really.
Really, really?
Yes, really, really.
Really, really, really?
Yes,
So as we're heading to Tribal Council, the votes stand with Ricard and Sarah wanting to go JD, JD and Brad wanting to go Sarah, and that left Chantel and Jeannie in the middle, and really, Chantel is in full control. Jeannie is a bit of a wild card, and Chantel is directly in the middle of this divide. She holds all the cards, and at Tribal Council, we can see just how much power she has. Her saying she's changing her mind to Ricard and Sarah about the vote initiated the live tribal. They started to scramble, which had Sarah throwing Brad under the bus about saying her name. Ricard then goes up to JD, who, let's just remember, Ricard was campaigning all afternoon to get rid of JD, but Ricard tells JD to vote Brad. Then JD gets up to talk to Chantel, who he gives complete control to her. I mean, Brad came up to JD to give him a heads up about his name being thrown out there, yet JD tells Chantel he's willing to vote any way she wants, Brad, Sarah, or anyone else. I also loved when Sarah wanted to talk to JD and Chantel, but they told her, no thank you. Chantel is also the one to tell Sarah not to use her shot in the dark and tells Jeff to just let them get to the vote already, which they do. For this being episode 1, I was very impressed with Chantel, and I'm very proud to call myself a Stantel. Jeff reads out the votes, and the next person voted out was Sarah. But that's where this episode ends. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comments section below. Are you happy that Survivor is back? Who were you most impressed with on this premiere episode? Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? Who do you want to see be the next one voted out? Also, what'd you think about all the twists? What do you think about the shot in the dark, the new challenges, and are you a fan of being punished if you lose an immunity challenge? Let me know anything and everything you thought about this premiere episode down in the comment section below. I know I'm a little bit skeptical on all the twists and punishments, but I'm happy that Survivor is back. I thought this was a really solid premiere episode, and I can't wait for next week's episode, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this premiere episode down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Survivor content, more content in general, but until then, peace.